you could lean against the wall in here or use the bolsters to lean against. Okay. Just getting yourself somewhat comfortable as you can. And then noticing, do you feel your feet, your seat, or your back the most right now? Whichever one that you feel the most, that you can kind of tune into the most, stay with it for a moment. And try to really send your awareness to that area of your body. You can always move around. You don't have to stay totally still. And then noticing also just the other contact points between your body and your chair or the floor, whatever you're touching. And notice if any of those areas feel particularly supportive for you right now. And then imagine that you've got like an elevator up in your head, in your brain area. Just imagine that you're riding that elevator, your awareness is riding that elevator down from your head, down past your throat, all the way down into more of your lower body, your belly, your hips, your legs. And then noticing if you feel like you might be holding yourself up at all, like resisting gravity at all. And is there a way that you might be able to let go to gravity a little bit more anywhere in your body? And as you do that, notice what that experience is like for you. And now from here, just begin to notice where your hands are naturally, just where they're resting in this moment. And is this a place where it feels familiar for you? Do you normally rest your hands like this? Do you want to move your hands to a different location on your body or even just on your lap? Feel free to move around however you need to or want to. And does the touch of your hands on your body feel supportive? So we can use self-contact, like the touch of our own hands, as a resource, right? So I'm just going to throw out some ideas of areas where you might want to place your hands, but you can put them wherever you want, okay? I'm just going to give some ideas and you can kind of explore and see what feels good. And the length of time you spend with your hands in any spot might just depend on like, oh, I felt a shift, so I might find another spot, or you might stay there. And if you don't feel a shift, go somewhere else. Okay. So one spot could be on your chest, anywhere. It could be both hands, it could be one hand. Another place might be your belly or anywhere else on your torso. Again, it can be one or both hands, and you can always stay where you were. Another place might be on your arms or legs, right? So it could be a squeeze like we've done before. It could just be a holding or a resting. Feeling what it's like to touch your own body, make that contact, and then also to receive it as well. Other one is your head and or neck. So we've done a little bit in the past weeks with that fluid brain exercise, right? But it can also just be a resting. So I put a hand on my forehead, but it could also be a nice one can be behind the head at that occiput area, like that ridge in the back. Notice what these things feel like in your body. What are the sensations like? How does the touch affect your nervous system response? It could also be anywhere else on your head, sides, face, neck. And you might just pick your favorite tonight, like what feels like it's bringing support to you. Whenever you have the impulse to put your hands down or just rest them, you can do that. And you can also revisit these anytime, right? Any part of your day, either in the session tonight or on your own. And then checking in with your nervous system now. Like, how does it feel now compared to when we first started the grounding exercises? And to orient this evening, I'm just going to recommend just kind of letting your head and your neck and your eyes move around your space however you want to. Okay, so however you want to move around your head and neck, just allow your neck to be involved. Noticing light and colors, texture. And you might also notice, is this upregulating your nervous system? Like, is it making you a little more activated, or is it downregulating your nervous system? It could be either, right? So you're just checking in. Yeah, and then another way to orient is also to just look at something that feels a little bit resourceful. You know, like before I've mentioned, if I'm near a window and it's in the daytime, I'll just look outside at leaves or something, right? But you might have something in front of you now that when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's kind of nice to see. And then you could also use any of your other senses to orient, right? So all of us have vision here, but if you didn't, you could always use sound, or I like using sound even though I can see. Just noticing what you hear or smell. You can use essential oils in this way too, like just to carry them around with you, and a smell that you know is resourceful for you. You can just simply smell it anytime and notice the effect it has on you, and it can bring you into the present moment. So we're just establishing safety, right? Finding a relative sense of safety, because sometimes we don't feel very safe in our bodies if you're sick or in pain or have a lot of dysregulation. So you're just looking for a relative sense of safety, right? And then last week we also talked about the koshas. You guys remember that? Like the layers, that's yoga therapeutics. It's the layers of a human, right? So you can orient to those as well, right? So you can orient to your physical body. And we did that a little bit with grounding, and with the self-touch, but just noticing, how does your physical body feel tonight? Are there a lot of sensations? Is there an area in your body that feels more than another area? And then there's the prana level of the koshas. So that's your energetic body, and it is also your breath, your life force, your vitality. So you can feel your breath come in and feel your breath go out, not having to breathe in any particular way. And you can also notice what your energy level is like. How does it feel? How does your vitality feel? Does it feel strong this evening? Do you feel fatigued? And then there's the mental and emotional layer. So just orienting to, what's going on in your mind tonight? Are there any emotions present for you? And there's this deeper layer of wisdom, kind of like the deeper body wisdom layer, your intuition, the gut feeling. So this one is more abstract, right? You don't necessarily check in with it, but just being aware, and inviting in the possibility of following that tonight, right? Throughout your practice, really allowing yourself to listen to that deeper wisdom. And some of the practices that we'll do will hopefully help us develop that more. And then finally, there's that innermost layer that is there regardless of what's happening in the outer world. So that inner layer of peace, some people say bliss because that's one of the translations, but it's really that which abides, that which does not change. Even when we're upset or stressed out or ill, any of those things. This is the part of us, that inner peace. And so now if you just want to wiggle around or move, I'll invite you to do any kind of gentle movement that you feel like would be supportive for your body right now, right? So you could do anything. It could be yoga, it could be any kind of movement. And I'll do my own, so you don't need to follow me, just do what you want to do, okay? And if you're not sure what will feel supportive, you can just try some movements out. You might do something we've done in the past, or you might do nothing. And if you're in the room and you feel self-conscious at all, and I'm not saying that you should, okay, you don't need to feel self-conscious, but sometimes people do. So you might even close your eyes if that helps you. And we'll just do this for about another minute, okay? So take in your time. And then you can find a resting spot whenever you're ready to do it. And we're going to do some more movement very soon. But I wanted to go over that word interoception that I introduced last week. I might have talked about it in the past weeks as well. But do you guys remember that? It was on the handout there. You guys remember what it is? Interoception? Yeah, basically, right? It's combining these words, internal and perception. And it is part of our nervous systems. It's not like just an idea, it's an actual thing, right? And it's basically sensing everything on the inside. So anything skin and in is interoception. And then anything external would be exteroception, right? So and perception is just like a general thing about using your senses to perceive internal or out, right? So so interoception, it's such an interesting thing because there's a lot of research around interoception right now and in the past several years. And they've, put people in fMRIs and looked at what happens in the brain during practices of interoception, like meditation. It's an MRI that looks, it's an MRI, but it's one that looks at the brain, really is looking at how the brain is lighting up as well. Yeah. Yeah, F means functional. So you can like do things. I think the F stands for functional. Thank you. Yes. And so what they found with interoception is that basically an area of your brain called the insula just totally lights up. And they've done all these studies as far as when people practice interoception and become better at it, because you can become better at it, okay? You can train your body to get better, your nervous system to get better at it, that empathy increases. So they've done all these studies around this. So it's fascinating, right? So it's like if we can all practice more interoception, it doesn't have to be in a strict meditation sense. It can be in any of the things that we've been doing, right? Because they're all been pretty interoceptive, right? That we can increase empathy for ourselves and others, right? So that's helpful. And it's also very regulating for people. Okay, so maybe not right away, because if you're in a lot of pain and you're trying to be inside within yourself, that might be too overwhelming, as we kind of discussed, right? But over time, right, and staying with it and being able to tease apart kind of the pure sensations from the emotions, from thoughts, like different aspects of it. Yeah. So another interesting piece about it is that as you start to train it, you become more self-aware. Makes sense, right? You're perceiving what's on the inside, so you're becoming more self-aware. So that means you can take better care of yourself, right? So you can eat when you need to eat. You can rest when you need to rest, and you know when you're getting sick. You know when certain social situation. You know when you need to stay home, and you don't want to be in a room full of people, and when you feel like that would benefit you, right? And when it's not just your fear stepping in and saying that, but it's really what serves your higher self, that inner wisdom. Yeah. So it's this tool we can use. And so we're going to learn today how we can use breath for that as well. So we're going to be doing a little more breath work tonight, and also movement. But does anybody have any questions just about those ideas so far? Yeah, makes sense? Okay, let me just see. I just want to check this and see if I missed anything. Oh, okay. Some of the other things that the studies have shown is that it improves people's moods. So people have found that it actually improves their mood having more interoception, okay, practices. Your ability to engage with others, so just being able to have that social connection and focus at work. Okay, so they've just studied these specific things, like the ability to focus, the ability to do all these things. And we kind of know this. I mean, it's probably this group, especially because you're all here because you're connected in some way to yoga or meditation in some way, right? So you've been drawn to this studio, you know about it. So you probably know that meditation has some of these effects, right? And you don't have to meditate only internally, right? You can also use your exteroception skills to meditate as well. And there may be times where that's better serving, right? When you're overwhelmed with thoughts and emotions and you're all caught up in your head, maybe it's better to focus outward. Makes sense too. So you kind of want to train on both levels and get all that neuroplasticity working for you. Yeah. All right, guys. So, okay, let me just see if I missed anything else too. Oh, I'm just going to mention this, but this is what we're going to practice later, is that one way to really train it is to practice trying to feel your own heartbeat and then feeling how it changes. And this is something totally new to me that I just learned today, actually, this heartbeat piece. Yeah, I've been listening to this awesome podcast on interoception. And so this piece I hadn't thought of, and I do this in yoga for sure. And we do this when we were assessing our nervous systems, right? So when we talk, and just as a review, when we talked about the sympathetic nervous system, that up, and you can just use your fingers, is that upregulating or the downregulating nervous system? The sympathetic. Can't remember. Anybody? Okay, yep, we got one. Okay, it's upregulating. Yeah, okay, we got a couple at home too. Okay, so the sympathetic nervous system, you don't really need to remember those words, because you can just think of it as upregulating and downregulating. Okay, so there's no testing in here. All right, so it's just like trying to get those words sometimes help if you're reading information about it. So if you want to notice when you are upregulated, one of the characteristics of that is a faster heart rate, right? That seems logical. Yeah. Okay. So you notice and you can feel like, oh, my heart rate is going up. Is that appropriate? Like maybe for me right now, my heart rate going up is appropriate because I'm doing a lot of talking in front of people, right? But if I were just sitting at home relaxed, why would my heart rate be going up? Maybe something's going on, like what else is contributing to this? Am I stressed out about something? Did something trigger me that I wasn't even aware of? Or is there some medical thing going on, right? So something to be aware of. You can also notice when your heart rate goes down. And that would be the down regulation of our nervous system, which was called the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, that's like putting on the brakes for our nervous system. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do a little move. What's that?
I just thought of a mnemonic for me.
Yeah.
The pear, the bottom's heavier in a pear.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the nervous system is down.
Nice. Yeah, good. She said she thought of her own mnemonic device for this, and that pear, like a pear shape, is heavier on the bottom. And so she thinks down regulate. Yeah. So yeah, you can come up with all these things. Good. All right, so we're going to move a little bit, and you can be standing or seated, of course. I'm going to stand up because I want to stand up, but you can do whatever you prefer. And at any time, if you want to use any of the other techniques, you can do that too. All right. So wherever you are, see if you can get your feet flat. So if you're seated, you might just put your feet flat on the floor or sit in a chair. And you know how cats do that kneading motion? Yeah, you may have cats, you may not. So just imagine right now you're doing that with your toes, or you can actually do it with your toes. Just feeling all 10 of your toes. You can also feel the rest of your feet, of course. And just really connecting with the ground. Good. And you could also try to have like gecko toes. So you know how you can picture like spreading out your toes, and imagine you've got like, they actually don't have suction cups, but let's imagine they're like suction cups, and just going into the ground that way. Good. And then of course you can relax your toes and do whatever you want with them. Yeah, now just notice your connection with the ground. So connecting with the ground can, of course, be grounding, which can be resourceful, right? So it can bring energy out of your head and just literally down into the lower half of your body. Another way to do that, I think we did this the first week, is just a little weight shifting. So it's like leaning tower for those of you that have done that with me before. I was kind of shifting my weight in different directions. You could have your eyes open or closed. It's kind of fun to experiment with closed. For me, anyway, it's fun. And then noticing what it feels like if you've been shifting your weight to just come right back into the center. You might feel your breath go in and out, just keeping tabs on your breath. You could keep tabs on your heart rate as well, if you can notice it, as well as your temperature. Good. And then with eyes open, just going to slowly roll your ankle around by tracing the outer periphery of one of your feet. And I'm letting my knee move too. I'm letting my hip move. You can do this however you want to. And you can use your eyes with this just to kind of notice what your mobility is like in that ankle. So giving the brain another sense, that exteroception, right, helps to just build the body map in your brain. And you can change directions as well. Good. And then whenever you want to, you could pause between sides just to feel the difference in the two ankles and feet. And then go for the other side whenever you're ready. So I, of course, love yoga as a tool for developing interoception. And it can be a way for people to access it, right? Because sometimes it's hard for people to connect with their bodies, but when they move them while being encouraged to pay attention to that movement, it is a little bit easier. They can feel more. Right, so going both ways and also using your eyes to help build that body map. And the body map is a real thing in our brain. It's not just an idea. Okay, your whole body is represented in your brain, and it can get skewed when you have injuries and pain, chronic pain, or illness. And then after you've done both feet, you could just again notice that interoception. It's like a treasure hunt of sensations in your body. So it's like you're searching out any sensations. Good. And then let's just move the hips around so you can allow the hips to hula hoop. If you want to, you can even let the rest of your body move around, kind of like a rag doll, around and around. Do it however you want to do it. Okay? Explore. And go different directions. Good. And then whenever you want to be done with that, you can come back again and notice, right? Just kind of notice, how's the body feeling now? Good. Yeah, and we are going to go there next, what some of you are already doing, which is if it feels okay on your back, so please listen to your own back, but I'm just going to kind of ragdoll down, allowing my spine to round on the way down, and you can come up as well, bending your knees however much you want to, and going at whatever pace you want to. And you might try to move vertebrae by vertebrae. Sometimes those movements, that undulating movement of the spine, can have an interesting effect on your nervous system. Right? All your nerves run through your spine. Well, not all of them, but the lower nerves, the non-cranial nerves. And how do you feel connected to your feet now? Are you still connected to them? Feel free to add in any other movements as well. We can also twist, right? I'm just doing this one we've done, and you can join anytime, that we've done the past few weeks. And with this one, let your eyes be open if it feels okay to you, really taking in the space visually behind you or to your side, whatever you can look to, allowing your neck to move. And also noticing, once again, are you still feeling connected to your feet? And you can experiment with doing this slowly, or you can even do it fast. You could even exhale as you go to one side forcefully, like that. You do whatever you want to here. And coming to the center again whenever you're ready to. And we'll just move the wrists around. You can do this however you want to too. I'm just doing a real simple wrist rotation. You could shake them. You could join hands and move them. And you can look at them again, building that body map. Move your fingers too. So getting into the joints. So we're trying to move all the joints of the body. We're just trying to move everything, right? There's a lot of information in our joints. So a lot of proprioceptors. Proprioception is the awareness of where your body is in space. Again, nerves are sending information to your brain at your joints to let your brain know where your body is, right? And again, these can get kind of little just weaker with injuries or lack of use, okay? You can move your elbows around too, even opening, closing them, or just having fun with it, however you want to do it, okay? And all your joints move in, and all the joints that you can see, look at them, right? So if you can see them, or if you're in front of a mirror, you could always look at the mirror, as long as it doesn't make you self-conscious. Yeah. That's all right. If it makes you self-conscious, just notice it's making you self-conscious. Good. And you can move. We've moved the head and neck, you're orienting, but if you want to move it more, we did the head spirals. You could always do those, or look side to side or lean. I didn't think about it, but the jaw, you can move the jaw too, right? Forgot about that joint. Side bending is one of my personal favorites, but what are your personal favorites? Like as you explore your body and different kinds of movements like this, notice on a day-to-day, if you do this kind of thing every day, you'll see that your opinion will change. Might have different favorites, different days. If you're bending to one side and then the other, like I am here, you notice the texture of your clothing as well. And the messages from your body about how far you want to go. Sometimes certain movements and certainly yoga poses can invoke an emotion. They might trigger an emotion within you. That's normal, right? Because our emotions are really formed in our brains based on information from our bodies and our nervous system, as well as information within the brain, like memories and such. And then whenever you feel like you're ready to stand still again for a bit or sit still, you can do that and go on that treasure hunt again for sensation in your body. Notice what's there. You might want to move up and down on the feet, rocking on the soles of the feet. Good. And then whenever you're ready to, we'll stand with our feet at a comfortable distance, like just whatever feels right to you, okay? And imagine that you've got a spotlight that's coming up from the floor below you, just shining upward, okay? And it's going to shine through your body as though you were transparent, right through your center line, all the way through the top of your head to the ceiling above you. Your eyes can be open or closed, just trying to get a feel for this center line of your body. And then if you were to bring one or both of your hands to what feels like the center of your body, like for example, right, it could be, like in qigong and everything, there's the dantian right below the navel down here. Those that are familiar, it's okay if you're not, right? But you might feel like your center is there, or you might feel like your center is a little higher here or at your heart. I mean, it can be anywhere you feel like is your center. You can try some different places too. You might experiment with one or both hands there. You can let your eyes close or you can keep them open. As you bring your awareness there to your center. And you might notice your breath coming in and your breath going out. You might notice also just some gentle movement happening around that center that might be imperceptible to others, that you just feel, or you might feel like moving a bit around your center. So feel free to move however you want to. Checking in with your nervous system now, noticing, these markers, these autonomic nervous system markers that kind of tell us where we are. Heart rate, breath rate, and breath, just shallow versus wide, that kind of thing. Other markers might be tension or relaxation in your muscles. When we have a really dry mouth goes with that upregulated state. More saliva in the mouth is more of a downregulated because you're ready to digest, right? You can notice these things. Might also be temperature. Like, for example, if I'm upregulated, I will often notice that I get flushed. I feel that more, right? So, you'll have your own things that will go on. And you can think of them as like if you were in an actual fight or flight, life or death situation, you need to mobilize and run away. Your extremities need to be ready to go, right? You don't want to be digesting, right? So you can think of all the things that would go along with that. You can also, there's laundry lists of these on the internet too, where you can say like, oh, what are these markers? Right? So just noticing where you are now, and we're going to try to amp ourselves up just a little bit, because what we're going to do, and you might already be amped up because we did a lot of movement, but what we're going to do is we're going to try to watch ourselves move from a little bit of upregulated to more of a downregulated. And it might just be relative. You might not be like full relaxation mode, okay? But just trying to see like how your system feels. How can you watch it change? All right. So all I'm going to do is I'm just bending my knees and swinging my arms like this. And this tendon, of course, you can bounce, you can shake, like all the things that we've done in the past weeks. But you can also add in a little sound here. I'm going to do it. You don't have to if you don't want to. I feel like I'm cross-country skiing in one of those races. Yeah. Yeah, do anything you want. You guys are just getting that heart rate up, moving your big muscle groups. Good. And then whenever you feel like being done, let's pause and observe. Now you could sit or you could stay standing. Notice the state of your nervous system and all the markers we mentioned. If you're trying to calm your heart rate, you can breathe out through your nose slowly. That can kind of calm it down. You can use any arm position to help with that. Just notice now, has your breath started to slow a bit yet? Has your heart rate started to slow a bit yet? Are you more aware of your lower body or your whole body? And then whenever you're ready, if you're standing, you might want to sit in a chair or the floor. We're going to do some other things with the breath and interoception. So I think in the first session, our first session of the series, when we had the charts, and you can always go back and look at these, right? You have all the handouts, you have all the slides. We talked about that range of resiliency, or the sphere of tolerance, right? Where you can get upregulated and you just a natural process of every day. Hopefully we're doing things, right? If we're well, hopefully we're mobilizing in the day, and you can naturally come back down, right? There can be a little event when driving your car and someone, does something that you didn't like and you get upregulated, and hopefully you can come right back down. And right? So when we're in balance, we're able to go between these, no problem, right? So you can play with this in your day-to-day and just see, like, how long is it taking me when I've been upregulated to come back down, right? Like, what's going on in my nervous system, right? Not mine, but yours, right? Your individual nervous system, right? So just being aware of that can be helpful, because once you start paying attention to it, you can know, oh, I can do things right now to help my nervous system calm down if it needs to calm now. Like, it's time to rest, right? It's time to eat. It's time to enjoy myself and relax, right? So you can enjoy yourself in sympathetic too, right? Because that's the play mode, but you know what I mean? How long does it take? And you can recognize patterns of, like, ooh, I'm upregulated all the time lately, or I'm downregulated all the time. Like, I can't mobilize. And that happens to a lot of people in depression, right? Can't get out of bed, don't feel like doing anything, apathy. It's very common, right? So you could be in anywhere in here. And that movement that we did, like just doing movement, is what can get you to get upregulated. You saw that, right? And then we've been practicing a lot of the things to downregulate. Now let's learn about how the breath can help you do that too. And we've talked about this some, like we did a bunch of stuff last week as far as using some sound, or the week before, using sound and long exhale to downregulate the nervous system, right? And so what happens is that every time we inhale, your diaphragm moves down, there's more volume in your chest. Your heart actually gets a little bit bigger. There's a little more volume in the heart during the inhale. And because there's more volume in the heart rate slows down. And the receptors in there send some information to the brain. It's getting slow, it's getting slow. So the brain sends signals, speed it up, speed it up. Okay, so when we inhale, your heart rate actually goes up. When we exhale, the opposite is happening, right? The diaphragm moves up, pushes the air out because the cavity gets smaller, right? And the heart actually gets a little bit smaller. and the opposite effect is happening. You can imagine like through a pipe, the pipe's getting smaller, fluids flow through faster, right? So it sends information to the brain sends information back, slow that heart rate down, okay? So all you need to remember out of all of that is exhales slow down the heart rate, inhales speed them up, okay? And if we're healthy, our nervous system is healthy, and by healthy, I mean not too much stress, but also cardiovascularly healthy, then this happens and there's a bigger difference. Like there's more of an increase during the inhale and there's more of a decrease during the exhale. Okay? That's called heart rate variability. If we're not so healthy, if we've had a lot of stress or disease and injury or whatever's going on, there won't be as much of a change. Okay, but we can work on that through breath work and through lots of other tactics. Okay, so one of these, say we want to slow our heart rate down, focusing on the exhale, right? We already learned about the hum and the voo, but there's also just a simple one where you inhale twice like this, and then just, yeah, long exhale. It doesn't even have to be a sigh. It can actually be drawn out. So it could be like this. Let's try this a few times, okay? So it's just inhale twice, a little quickly, and then exhale long. And if you have trouble lengthening your exhale, think blowing out through pursed lips. Or you could use that ujjayi breathing we practiced last time. And then see if you can just breathe in. You could breathe in through your nose if it works for you. And then make a long exhale, either through mouth or nose. You could use that ujjayi breathing. You could use a hum. Or you could just use your natural breath. You could also think of that lateral breathing that we did last week. That can help you. And so longer exhales, focusing on exhales, down-regulate the nervous system over time. It might not happen within 5 breaths, it can take some time. You can do it before bed. It often, when people are agitated or panicking, people will say, take a deep breath. But actually, taking a deep breath makes people focus on the inhale. Typically, if you don't already know that you should be focusing on the exhale, right? So you go, right? You take a deep breath. That does the opposite effect. So instead of that, you could say, breathe with me with somebody, or blow out like you're blowing out through a straw slowly. And they might not be able to do it at first because when someone's really panicking, it's hard to do, right? So, but that can be like, hey, breathe with me, breathe with me. Or even just notice that you're breathing. That can be helpful.